New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez and his wife indicted by a federal grand jury. The senator is accused of using his office to help several businessmen from New Jersey, as well as the Egyptian government, in exchange for receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars in gifts, including cash, a luxury vehicle, even gold bars.
That's right. Now Senator Robert Menendez, a Democrat, is facing federal criminal charges. He has been indicted today for cartoonishly brazen corruption. Allegedly, obviously, people are innocent until proven guilty. But really, Menendez did a horrendous job of attempting to cover up his alleged criminal behavior, especially considering the fact that he had been previously prosecuted in a separate corruption scandal. He was acquitted in that case due to a hung jury. The judge then decided to let him go. Now, here are the details on the latest indictment, which also has to do with alleged corruption. The indictment revolves around Menendez's relationship with the government of Egypt, as well as 3 businessmen. Now, let's watch US Attorney Damian Williams, whose office brought the indictment against Menendez, explain how Menendez allegedly did favors for Egypt and these businessmen.
The indictment alleges that Senator Menendez used his power and influence, including his leadership role on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, to benefit the government of Egypt in various ways. Among other actions, Senator Menendez allegedly provided sensitive, non-public US government information to Egyptian officials and otherwise took steps to secretly aid the government of Egypt. We also allege that Senator Menendez improperly pressured a senior official at the US Department of Agriculture to protect a lucrative monopoly that the government of Egypt had awarded to Hana, a lucrative monopoly that Hana then used to fund certain bribe payments.
Now, keep in mind, Menendez is part of the Senate committee having to do with foreign policy. So he has quite a bit of influence on some of the issues that might impact countries like Egypt, for example. But his wife also allegedly got in on the action. Her name is Nadine Menendez, and she was allegedly involved in some of these shady dealings. She helped to introduce Menendez to one of these businessmen by the name of Hannah, who she was friends with for years prior to meeting Menendez, and that's according to the indictment. In exchange for Menendez's favors to Hannah and Egypt, Nadine was promised a low or no show job at that businessman's company. And she was indicted along with her husband as a result of her alleged involvement here. Now let's hear Williams explain Menendez's relationship with another businessman, or 2 other businessmen, Uribe and Davis.
The indictment alleges that Senator Menendez used his power and influence to try to disrupt a criminal investigation and prosecution undertaken by the New Jersey Attorney General's office related to an associate and a relative of Uribe. Third, the indictment alleges that Senator Menendez used his power and influence to try to disrupt a federal prosecution of Davies in the District of New Jersey in 2 ways. First, by seeking to install a United States attorney who he thought could be influenced with respect to Davies. And second, by trying to influence that office to act favorably in Davies' case.
So the full names of the 3 businessmen in question here are Wael Hannah, you have Jose Uribe, and Fred Davies. Now, in addition to what Menendez is accused of, allegedly in exchange for the favors that he provided to these businessmen, Menendez received some pretty nice bribes, allegedly. Let's watch.
Special agents with the FBI executed search warrants on the residence and safe deposit box of Senator Menendez and Nadine Menendez in New Jersey. When they got there, they discovered approximately $500,000 of cash stuffed into envelopes and closets. Some of the cash was stuffed in the senator's jacket pockets. And some of the envelopes of cash contained Davies' fingerprints or Davies' DNA. That's not all. Agents also discovered a lot of gold that was provided by Davies and Hannah. And the FBI, of course, found the Mercedes-Benz that Uribe had provided them.
Who keeps the bribes in their sports coat? I mean, I guess when you get away with the corruption the first time, you get real brazen about it the second time, allegedly. But I am curious what you guys think about this. I'll start with you, Waz.
This is just incredible, honestly. This reminds me of like a Steven Seagal flick. This level of just blatant corruption on the part of a freaking sitting U.S. senator. Like, this isn't penny ante stuff, right? Like, this guy isn't some county commissioner or some, commissioner of some school district. This guy is one of the 100 senators in the U.S. Senate, and he's taking these essentially cheap bribes. The idea that they found this guy with $500,000 in cash is quite hilarious. But luckily, Anna, we know why this is happening according to a statement from him. These people are doing it because he's Latinx.
Okay, so let me give you the statement. Let me give you the statement. Because look, I gotta be honest. This has now become corporate Democrat 101 to provide cover for any wrongdoing, and it really grosses me out. So this is what he said in a statement in response to the indictment. Those behind this campaign simply cannot accept that a first-generation Latino American from humble beginnings could rise to be a United States senator and serve with honor and distinction.
Mm-hmm.
No.
You know what this shows? You know what this shows, you guys? This shows that no matter who the criminal is, where they come from, they're just as ridiculous and maybe even don't plan things out as others. Just because someone's a senator or a congressman or a former president of the United States doesn't mean they know what the hell they're doing. It means they're greedy and they found some ways to use the system to benefit themselves and their family and their wives or whoever else that they're looking to help benefit from it. So we give people way too much credit or way too much ground to be like, oh, they're the honorable senator, the honorable representative from whatever state. These folks, some of them, are so damn corrupt, just like anyone else that's a criminal. And then they'll put the cash in bags. There was a previous Republican congressman, I believe, who was tossing cash out of the window at his wife's house when he was finally busted. They're not as sophisticated as they tell us that they are. They just tell us that so many times that we begin to have this level of respect for them when they're just as sloppy and messy as any other common criminal. And in this case, it's the same thing. You ask the question, Anna, who's dumb enough to stuff a bunch of cash in some sport coats and have gold bars in the closet and have all this hanging out? A criminal would. But you know what? Even worse, maybe even criminals that get away with these things as regularly as elected officials do is the reason why they're so messy. They're like, what are you gonna do? Donald Trump literally is being exposed for telling some of his aides, you never heard that, you never saw this. That's fourth grade type of stuff. They don't have to be sophisticated or smart. Matter of fact, they're less sophisticated and even dumber than other criminals because they never actually get held accountable for their actions. So this is just another case of that.
Well, I think that politicians, it's a different flavor of stupid. I think you're right about the incompetence, definitely right about the corruption, generally speaking. But what makes this a little different is when you're talking about a United States senator who has previously gotten away with similar charges in a separate case, he thinks he's above the law, right? And it really doesn't matter what the political party is. I think Trump has that kind of air to him. And now you see a sitting Democratic senator facing criminal federal charges for, alleged corruption in a country, by the way, that has corruption baked into the system. Like, you got to try real hard to break, corruption related laws in the United States, but he did it. I mean, allegedly, according to the federal prosecutors. And that's the other thing I want to just quickly mention. The indictment brought upon Menendez is by the federal government. The same federal government who is also indicting Donald Trump, the same federal government that currently we're going to experience another government shutdown over because Republicans in the far right wing of the Republican Party would like to defund federal prosecutors because they're very mad that the federal prosecutors are pursuing any indictment against their beloved Donald Trump. So in this case, we're talking about federal charges that impact a Democrat. So what do they say about that? Do they maybe provide a little bit of funding to the federal government to prosecute people like Menendez as long as it's a Democrat? Is that okay? I mean, it's just so dumb to think of every indictment, which is not easy to bring against any type of politician, whether we're talking about a former president or a sitting United States senator, to just automatically brush it off as, oh, it's just political and nothing more. No, you got to have some evidence.
So Anna, you're referring. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and in this case, it appears that the federal prosecutors have some evidence. They're not just going to bring some, weak case against a sitting senator.
Why haven't we seen James Comer and Jim Jordan on TV talking about the Menendez case? Yes, they've talked about it. It's been extensive. They go from the first wave that he got, the hung jury, whatever happened when he got off of that first time. But you're referring to the Donald Trump talking about we got to stop defunding the government because then we got to stop Jack Smith. That ridiculousness. Not only that, as far as this being an aspect of them trying to hold up doing the government shutdown thing is, it don't even work that way. If they hold up the government and stop the funding like they think they can for Jack Smith's investigations and the others, some of these cases are state investigations and state prosecutions. You can't hold those up, bro. And I was just talking about it today because there's a Justice Department memo from 2 years ago that makes it clear that these things are not exempt from government shutdowns. So follow Donald Trump down the stupid road all you want. That's why currently the impeachment inquiry is not looking good. And it's also why this whole thing when they're fighting within the House over these rules and trying to make sure things get shut down so they can be more closer to Donald Trump's feet. It doesn't work this way because he doesn't know what he's doing.
I just believe that any politician, anyone in a position of power who breaks the law, who abuses the office he or she has the privilege of sitting in, should face the consequences of that. I don't care if we're talking about a Republican or a Democrat. I ain't got no love for Menendez. I don't care. Good. I'm glad that he's being prosecuted for this. And the fact that he thinks that he could sell his influence, whether it be to businessmen or to politicians in other countries, it's disgusting. It's against the law. And, we'll see what the outcome of this case will be. But for those who are curious, Menendez was charged back in 2015 with illegally accepting favors from a Florida eye doctor, including flights on a private jet, 3 nights at a 5-star hotel in Paris, and more than $700,000 in political contributions for him and the Democratic Party. The case ended in a mistrial after jurors were unable to reach a unanimous verdict. At that point, federal prosecutors decided not to retry him. But what he's facing charges for now are in a completely separate corruption-related case. So again, we'll see how it all plays out. But I just love the fact that he used his identity to defend himself as if that matters at all.
Yeah, it's tough because it's impossible to commit corruption while also being a member of the Latinx community. Everybody knows that. And oftentimes liberals and centrists, they talk about a loss of or a lack of decorum that we have in government, in media. And I tend to agree with him. This guy didn't even have the decency to have a bag man. He's actually receiving the bribes and having his wife negotiate on his behalf. It's kind of crazy.
It absolutely is crazy.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.